So I'm lucky enough to be sitting here with Dave Woldman, who is the senior producer at Visceral Games and on a game that we've all been yelling about for probably like 6 months, Dead Space 3. So we just went down and we saw the demo, and there's a lot of new additions.
This is exactly what we've been looking for. This isn't just some random planet, Isaac. They found the source.
Our window's coming up. We go now or not at all.
I'm seeing mines at 2,000 meters.
Targeting computer, spinning up.
Here's where the fun begins. We're coming in too hot.
Give me a course correction.
The plates are shaking loose. We're dropping like a rock.
Oh, shit.
I actually saw the little prequel thing where it was when when they first got infected, and then it turns out that if they hadn't used all the antibiotics, that they could have saved themselves. So that's how far back I go. So, you know, looking at the planet and seeing how many came out to play, like how many new species of necromorph are we talking about here?
I think the number was something like 22 or 23 from Dead Space 2, and we're adding another half a dozen plus to the sort of pantheon of the enemies that we have for Dead Space 3. And they're very unique, like the ones you saw in the demo, like the Waster, who transforms depending on how you shoot him and how you dismember him. So that enemy actually has 6 different transformation states, and then you saw some of our sort of medium and large scale bosses as well in the demo.
Yeah, and one of those kind of looked like what we call the face sucker from Alien. It was like, you know, all of a sudden it just came out of nowhere. So it can just pop in and pop out depending on, as long as the quote unquote form is somewhat intact. Am I correct?
Sure, we're calling that guy the Creeper right now. And so one of the things you also saw in the demo was the introduction of human enemies. Guys with guns, unitologists running around the world with Isaac. And then when you layer in the infection layer on top of that, so you had a Creeper infecting a human unitologist when he was dead, turning him into a shambler enemy, sort of a zombie with a gun. And so that's one of the things we're really excited about on Dead Space 3. With the introduction of more humans, we're really playing up the infection. So just because you think a combat scenario might be over, it probably isn't.
Can you explain, you know, the drop-in, drop-out and how that's going to affect Isaac's playability?
With the optional drop-in and drop-out co-op feature, you have almost a second game at your disposal now. And so what happens is, when you choose to play with a friend at any time with a quick invite, they can pop into your game. A couple of things happen that I've observed when we were watching people play. First, horror and fear is really in the individual and in your head. And so what you might think is frightening might not be what your friend thinks is frightening. And the second phenomenon is just kind of the ability to share that horror is really engaging for people.
Considering the first 2 games were actually on the Ishimura and inside a spaceship and it's just Isaac, where did the thought process come from to actually go, you know what, let's give him 2 other people, let's give him Ellie, let's give him Carver, and then let's just chuck them all onto a planet?
Well, we don't necessarily chuck them onto the planet, but...
Well, they kind of, crashed onto the planet, not chuck, just like throw them there.
So, right, when Dead Space was created, Isaac alone, trying to solve a mystery of what's going on in the Ishimura, out in the depths of space, right? Dead Space 2 took place on a sprawl. There was 1 million people there. Ishimura was docked onto the sprawl. And then what we've done in a fictional standpoint, from DS1 to Extraction to Dead Space 2, with our graphic novels, with the novels themselves, with the animated films, we keep growing the world of Dead Space. We keep introducing new characters, and as the necromorph threat spreads throughout the universe of Dead Space, it only made sense at some point it would have to touch down on a planet. And so we decided deliberately, because of where the story was going, that was the right set for at least Act 2 of our game.
What is your favorite part about the Dead Space franchise?
Oh, geez. You know, I'm actually a big fan of the control schemes and the mechanics. You know, I'm a big fan that game difficulty and game challenge should come from the setups and the experiences on screen, not from your ability to execute what you're trying to do in the controls with the controller in your hand. And so we spent a lot of time refining and tweaking and tuning just the way the game feels in your hands, and I'm really proud of the effort, and we're taking it to another level on Dead Space 3.